Hello, welcome to Access Arts Live, the weekly roundup of orchestral works, operatic works, ballet, theater, anything we can find for you that's live streaming this week on big stages with big groups performing. And we have a lot going on this weekend. This week, it's going to be a terrific week for you. It's a week of soloists accompanied by different top orchestra. You'll be able to live stream Alexander Kantorow, Augustin Hadelich, Sasha, Cooke, Olga Kern, Fatma, Fabian Müller, and more during this week. And most of these live streams are free of charge to you. There will be several that will have some charge, and we'll let you know about that. But most of this is just coming to you free of charge, so you can enjoy it at will, at your pleasure. They're not even asking you to donate anything. So let's get right to what we have going on this week so I can start spelling it all out for you. I'm going to be showing lots of photos of these different soloists, but unfortunately on Instagram, you won't get that feed because you're not on the multi-stream platform that I'm using. And it's morning for me here in Paris, even though it's a little afternoon, because I've been preparing this all morning long. Okay, let's start out with the first event of this week. And let me make sure I have all my photos set up so I can show them to you one after another. The Russians are coming. Well, actually, it's Russian music that's coming to you this week from the Elbe Philharmonic in Hamburg. And you will have, they will be presenting a concert played not by the Elbe Philharmonic, of which the artistic director and main conductor is the great Alan Gilbert. No, this is the Munich Philharmonic being conducted by Tugan Sokiev, a Russian conductor, because it's a Russian program. They'll be doing, sorry, my notes are slipping around at me. They'll be doing Tchaikovsky's Polonaise from the opera Eugene Onegin. Opus 24. They'll be doing Rachmaninoff's magnificent Rhapsody on a theme of Paganini for piano and orchestra, Opus 43, with Alexander Kantorow. I'll tell you a little bit more about him in just a moment. And then they will do Rimsky-Korsakov's Scheherazade Symphonic Suite, Opus 35. If that does not please lovers of Russian orchestral music, I don't know what will. Now, let me refresh your memory a little bit about who Alexander Kantorow is. This is him at this supreme moment during the Olympic opening ceremonies in Paris earlier this year. This is Alexander Kantorow playing Ravel's Jeu d'eau, which means the play of the waters or fountains or something like that. Literally, it means play or games, jeu d'eau, water. And below him, the Seine was flowing. He's on a bridge. Above him, the rain is coming down and he's playing. And tens, if not hundreds of millions of people were enjoying it. Our mission at Access Arts Live is to get millions of people to enjoy this sort of thing without having to throw an Olympics for 2 weeks in order to get them to tune in. And we will keep doing it person by person. But anyway, a little bit more about Kantorow. He's a Frenchman, actually, and it was the first Frenchman ever to win first prize, gold medal, and the Grand Prix at the International Tchaikovsky competition in 2019. It's been onward and upward ever since then. So for lovers of Russian music, this is your time. This is on Wednesday at 8 o'clock European time, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the East Coast, noon on the West Coast, and 6 in the morning Australian Daylight Time. And I want to warn you, all of the times these week in these different zones are changing a bit because Europe goes off daylight savings time before the US does, and Australia goes on daylight saving time before Europe does. So these things are shifting. They're approximate. You want to double check them. But if you love Russian music, Wednesday's your day. Have a good time. We move along. When jazz music is arranged to be played by a Philharmonic orchestra, does it become classical? Or is it still just, well, that's jazz, but it's played by an orchestra? Or does it depend on the quality and or nature of the arrangement or the quality of the arrangers or composers? There's a Ukrainian composer who's written some terrific jazz music for orchestras and concertos and things like that. You might contemplate this question while you're enjoying a free live stream from the Royal Stockholm Philharmonic in Stockholm, Sweden, that's called the Blue House Jazz with Orchestra. Now, usually we do not promote jazz concerts or pop music or rock and roll music or that sort of thing, because this is fine arts, performing arts, access arts live. But in this case, they'll be playing music which is arranged for orchestra. And this is the Stockholm Phil does these on a regular basis, does these Blue House Jazz events with jazz musicians, but they don't always have the orchestra with it. So we wanted to let you know about it, just in case you like crossing lines, the way guys like Gene Pritzker at Composers Concordance like to do. We may be talking about him later in another live stream. Anyway, in this case, it's a Grammy Award-winning pianist, John Beasley, working together with a guy he's worked with before, Magnus Lindgren, on the saxophone. Their special guest is Michael Mayo, who was kind of a protege of Herbie Hancock along the way. And Alexander Hansen is conducting. Beasley has worked with, everybody, Miles Davis, Freddie Hubbard, Chaka Khan, James Brown, worked on the film scores for a couple James Bond movies, and Magnus Lindgren, a Swede, he's worked with Herbie Hancock too, Bobby McFerrin, John Schofield. So this should be quite an evening. Now, this is at 7:30 Friday evening, European time. That's 2:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast, 11:30 in the morning on the West Coast. Now, if after a half an hour you're not satisfied, then you can switch over to the next live stream. You haven't lost anything. It hasn't cost you anything. You haven't paid anything. But for those of you who love mixing jazz with classical music, the Stockholm Phil concert is for you. Friday, November 1st, 8 o'clock p.m. European time, 3 o'clock on the East Coast, noon on the West Coast, 6 o'clock in the morning, Australian Daylight Time, which is what they've been on since the beginning of October. The Frankfurt Radio Symphony will be live streaming a concert of Strauss and Mendelssohn with the top soloist, Augustin Hadelich. Let me give you a picture of Augustin at work. He was live streaming a lot this summer. He was down under and doing live streams with orchestras in Australia and in New Zealand. And this guy, if I tell you a little bit about his schedule, it'll tell you what a guy he is. During this past summer, he did the Hollywood Bowl with the LA Phil. He did the Tanglewood Music Festival with the Boston Symphony. He did Bravo Vale with the New York Philharmonic. And then he was down under in New Zealand and Australia, partly to promote his new album, which is called American Road Trip, which is a mix of him playing very classic music by American composers, but also some music from American film scores, some Broadway tunes. And so he likes to mess it up between genres, as some other people like to do too. He is actually the artist in residence at the Dresdner Philharmonic. But this particular concert is with the Frankfurt Radio Symphony Orchestra. It is free of charge, and we'll give you the link to Augustin Hadelich's website too if you want to know more about him. They'll be doing Richard Strauss's Till Eugenspiel's Merry Pranks. They'll be doing Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto. They'll be doing Mendelssohn's Midsummer Night's Dream, the overture to that, and then they'll be doing Richard Strauss' Macbeth. So this is a very theatrical kind of concert as well. If you like Augustin Hadelich, or if you like these kind of, like it when august composers take to the song and dance of theatrical music, this could be a live stream that you'd really enjoy. The people at the Cologne Philharmonic, the Köln Philharmonic, also called the WDR, and I don't know what WDR stands for, but anyway, they say that great things happen whenever they bring in the Grammy Award-winning conductor Christian Masalaru to take the podium, which they're doing this week on Friday evening in Europe. But why don't you be the judge of that? Saturday, the Köln, no, it's Friday. Friday, the Köln Philharmonic will be live streaming a concert they call Eternity, Ewigkeit, or Ewigkeit. But what they really mean is Mahler's Third Symphony in D minor. So anyway, the Mahler Symphony Number 3, and it involves a soprano and a choir. The choir will be the boys and girls of the Cologne Cathedral Choir and the WDR Radio Choir, which is more grown-ups. And the singer will be Sasha Cooke, the American mezzo-soprano. Let me give you a picture of Sasha Cooke now. There you go. There's Sasha Cooke. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a 2-time Grammy Award winner, and Mahler is her specialty. This year she's doing Mahler's Second Symphony with Daniel Harding at his new post at the Orchestra dell'Accademia Nazionale di Santa Cecilia, but also with the San Francisco Symphony in one of Pekka Salonen's final appearances there, because he's getting out of town. And with the Vienna Radio Symphony and the Wiener Konzerthaus. So, she goes around doing Mahler all the time. So this should be then an excellent concert to check out. This is Olga Kern. Sunday at the 3rd of November at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, noon on the West Coast, 9 in the evening in Europe, she will be playing Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto Number 4 with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. The orchestra will also be doing Prokofiev's Symphony Number 5. And they'll be doing a new composition by Daniel Slotkin called Voyager 130, who is the son of the conductor of this concert, Leonard Slotkin, who was the longtime music director and conductor at the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. They were so lucky to have him. By the way, the recordings that Slotkin has done have received 6 Grammy Awards and 35 Grammy nominations. So he's talking about a high-quality conductor. He's also the honorary musical director of the Orchestre Nationale de Lyon in Lyon, France. And he's the conductor laureate of the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. And he still, even now, continues to compose, to conduct, and to travel around the world. But let's get back to the magnificent Olga Kern. And if you'd like to see some other photos of her, these are various publicity photos that she has used. And I got to tell you, I mean, she is, I don't want to take anything away from what a great pianist she is, and I'm going to tell you about that here, but she's also gorgeous. I just have to say it. She's just knock dead gorgeous. Olga Kern won a first prize at the Rachmaninoff International Piano Competition when she was only 17 years old. So she knows Rachmaninoff like the back of her hand. Let me take this distraction off the screen for you so you can pay attention to something else. Anyway, yeah, pay attention to me. In 2001, she became the only woman in the last half century to win the gold medal at the Van Cliburn International Piano Competition. When I mentioned that she's gorgeous, I'm not taking anything away from the fact that she's extremely talented, head and shoulders above 99.999% of other pianists. And now she's on the jury for these kinds of things, and she has her own, since 2016, I think, Olga Kern International Piano Competition. You can look it up on Wikipedia, and it shows you the list of the winners, just like they do for these other competitions. She's way up there. Not only that, but she also founded, over a decade ago, the Kern Foundation Aspiration to support talented musicians around the world. This is what Olga Vladimirovna Kern has come to in such a magnificent career of giving back, as well as having her own personal success. And by the way, she's on the piano faculty at the Manhattan School of Music. So I cannot commend this to you highly enough. or commend the Detroit Symphony Orchestra for over a decade of live streaming on a regular basis, 10 to 20 concerts a year. They're way out ahead of everybody else in doing this kind of thing, and God bless them for doing it. Full disclosure, I have a little personal stake in this orchestra. I was a 16-year-old living on the east side of Detroit, coming from a family that was, to say the least, not steeped in the performing arts or high culture. And I would borrow the car to be able to drive downtown to Cobo Hall and attend concerts of the Detroit Symphony Orchestra way back in those days. I almost felt like I was sneaking out to do it because nobody else in my family was going to do it. And I didn't really have any friends that were doing that sort of thing either, but I sure was. And it's sort of like the situation with the DSO. It's kind of like, you know, they prove that people in an industrial city can love the performing arts the way that Italian truck drivers drive around singing opera arias, because, you know, on those long hauls, what are you going to do if you don't sing opera? Anyway, that's what we have in terms of free of charge live streams for you this week. But we're not done. There are 3 more live streams going on this week. I've taken far too long because I keep making mistakes, but we'll just keep going, and I will circulate excerpts of this when and as I can. Saturday, 7 o'clock. In the evening, European time, 2 o'clock Eastern time in the U.S., 11 in the morning on the West Coast, the Berlin Philharmonic live streams for you. Giovanni Antonini, a Haydn specialist, he's conducting Mozart and Haydn. Now, some people adore Mozart and Haydn. Some people think it's very important to determine which is the greater of the two. I'm not any of those people. But you might be, or you might just enjoy listening to their brands of music. And if so, the Berlin Phil is playing for you this weekend. They'll be doing Haydn's Symphony number 54 in G major, his Symphony number 44 in E minor, the Morning Symphony, and then Fatma said, the Egyptian soprano who comes to us from Cairo via studies in Berlin, then at the La Scala Opera House Academy. She was the artist in residence at the Vienna Concert House last year, at the Berlin Concert House the year before. Fatma said, yes, that Egyptian soprano will be singing Ariana Anaxos in the first half of the concert. In the second half, they'll be doing something which, even if you're a Mozart lover, you may really not have heard before. They'll be doing a series of the entr'actes from Mozart's Thamos, King of Egypt, Kerschel number 345, entr'act 1, 2, 3, 4, and the Allegro. So all I can say is, all you lovers of Mozart or Haydn or both or one more than the other, have a good time. It will cost you something. It will cost you a month subscription to the Berlin Phil, which is 16 euros and 90 cents or $18.85 in US dollars. But bear this in mind. They do 4 or 5 concerts per month. So you buy that monthly subscription. It's not $16.90 or $18.85 for one concert. It's that for 4 or 5 concerts. And then you're only paying 4 or 5 euros or dollars for the Berlin Phil, which is always high quality. What do we have for you next? What we have for you next, we take you to Berlin. Beethoven sonatas are Beethoven sonatas. You may have heard them played so well that they are divine. I heard one played recently at the Leeds International Piano Competition. It tugged the strings of my heart. Or you may have heard them played so well that they're not divine. They're just, oh, he played it really well, technically speaking. Daniel Barenboim, who basically reigns over the, what's it called? The Pierre Boulez Hall, came up with the idea of inviting Fabian Müller, who's a German pianist. He plays with all the German orchestras. He doesn't play that much with orchestras outside of Germany. Barenboim invited him to come into the Pierre Boulez Hall and over 8 weeks play all 32 of the Beethoven sonatas. So he's going to start the first session on Sunday, November 3rd, 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Europe, 10 in the morning on the East Coast, 7 in the morning on the West Coast, and 2 o'clock a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. That's on Stage Plus. it will cost 16 euros and 90 cents or $11 for a 1 month subscription, but that's not for one concert. That's for all the live streams that Stage Plus does during the month, and they do a good number of them. They do 4 or 5. Fabian was born in 1990 in Beethoven's hometown of Bonn now, and I could read you the list of the orchestras that he's played with, but they're all the German orchestras, like the Tonhalle. Well, there's a Swiss one, but it's Zurich, right? The WDR Symphony in Cologne, the Frankfurt Radio Symphony, the Beethoven Orchestra Bonn, etc. So he'll be doing this Sunday Beethoven Sonata number 1 in F minor, Sonata number 18 in E flat major, number 25 in G major, and number 23 in F minor, which those of you who love Beethoven or even who don't know is the Appassionata Beethoven Sonata. If Beethoven and his sonatas are your thing, come and get it. They will do session 2 on December 15th, I believe, but you'll have time to find out about that. Finally, we have one more paid concert to tell you about. I'm just going to tell you about it briefly because it bears having an entire separate live stream introduction to it. It's the Teatro alla Scala, the La Scala Opera House. And this Sunday, they will be live streaming Das Rheingold, Der Ring des Nibelungen. It's at 2:15 in the afternoon in Europe, 8:15 on the East Coast, 5:15 on the West Coast, or 10:15 in the evening in Australia and Australian daylight time. That will cost you €9.90 or $11. They brought in tried and true veteran Simon Young to conduct, and David McVicker, who staged everything from Cavalli to Berlioz to Verdi for the La Scala Opera House, will be doing the staging. But I want to tell you more about that and also more about several of the soloists. So I really don't think there's time to go into more detail. Plus, we're at over 25 minutes already because there's so much going on, even with all the mistakes that I made in the presenting it. So there's one viewer now. So if you've been watching the whole thing, well, my hat is off to you. I wonder if I can click on the chat thing and see who you are, but it's not showing who you are. You're welcome to say hello in the chat, whoever it is that's watching this. But if not, that's it for this week. I will be back later today or early tomorrow with the weekly update on all the live streams of chamber music and soloists that are going on, because there's a lot of that going on as well, and the organ recitals, which are going on every day of the week, practically from Tuesday through Sunday. So there's a lot going on. Live streaming is booming. Remember, when you watch a live stream, it's not like watching a recording. You watch a recording, the artists, they're gone. They're gone fishing. They're having lunch. They're with their family on the holidays. Who knows what they're doing? But they're not playing for you. They're not there. When you enjoy a live stream as it's happening, I've been a performing artist. I know that what we do for love. And we do it to create an experience of truth and beauty for you to share with us as artists and with everybody else in the audience, whether you're right there in front of us physically or whether you're experiencing it emotionally. And more artists, when they're doing live streaming, are recognizing that and thanking the live stream audiences for being there, as well as the in-person audiences. And I can tell you this, building up live streaming audiences is also the key to weaning the performing arts off of its dependency on subscription drives and donors and foundations and government funding, so that a larger number of viewers can sustain it itself. Other forms of live streaming do that. The news does it, sports does it. The performing arts can do it too. Okay, that's enough propaganda for today, but I figured I was so far over the usual time limit, I might as just well go ridiculously longer over it. I hope you find some, any, or all of these live streams inspiring and uplifting for you.